David called me this morning. He asked me to do this more than a week ago, but he called again this morning and expressed his desire to be here tonight. But his elderly parents are in Dominican Republic, and David felt the need to be there with them. And I can understand that. But I feel especially honored that he asked me to speak for him. So I'm here as a reporter of facts as they've been given to me by David Wessler. His record of accomplishment, his conservatism, his consistent record of voting against tax increases for Preble County residents, his connection to other influential office holders, his diligence in cutting the cost of government, his success in bringing more jobs and more revenue to our county, his support for Preble County's youth, veterans, and those less fortunate. I ask you whether or not this record, and he does have a record, is one that a Tea Party / Liberty Group person would be proud of. David is proud of his accomplishments, and I would simply opine that the list of accomplishments is neither exhaustive or that he was solely responsible for the outcomes. However, I believe that David has been careful to take credit as well as to share credit as appropriate. Here's some substantiation for those list of accomplishments. His record of accomplishment. Preble County leads Ohio by being selected for 7 neighborhood revitalization grants since 2002. Each grant is worth $300,000. The funds have been used for infrastructure improvements in the villages. The Moving Ohio Forward grant, a $345,000 grant, allowed the Preble County to take down 33 abandoned and neglected residential units. David's conservatism. David has a consistent record of voting against tax increases for Preble County residents. David supported the electric aggregation program, resulting in savings for county-owned buildings of $50,000 a year. 3 townships have joined the program: Jefferson, Monroe, and Dixon, saving approximately $470 per household for a total of over $525,000. Jackson Township has now voted to join up with the other 3. David's connection to other influential office holders. State Representative Jim Bucci said, and I quote, "David Wessler has served the people of Preble County as a fiscal conservative and demonstrated and practiced good money management." David is on the executive board of the County Commission of Ohio. He serves on the Ag and Rural Development Committee for National Association of Counties, the NACO. He's been a member of the board of directors for the CCAO since 2011 and served on the executive board since 2015. Thus, David wields considerable influence with our state legislators, is able to stay in the loop and to weigh in on pending legislation. David's diligence in cutting the cost of government. Sending leachate to the Lockingren wastewater treatment facility has saved the county over $360,000 per year. David's effort to bring in more revenue to our county. He worked with Senators Faber and Beagle to win nearly $1 million in capital budget dollars to the county. David worked with Lewisburg and others to bring the Pratt industry expansion to our county with 150 new jobs. D&M Tool chose to expand in Preble County instead of leaving Preble County, and Rexark improved their facility. David was successful in securing over $575,000 in state 629 funds and workforce development training funds to assist our businesses. Okay, the last category is David's support for Preble County's youth, veterans, and those less fortunate. He was nominated for and won the Ohio Public Images State Award for working with those with developmental disabilities. David started the Commissioner's Charity Ball that has brought in over $60,000 for nonprofits. He's donated over $10,000 of that to the Junior Fair Board. He's worked with OSU to obtain a dedicated 4-H educator for our youth. Supported veterans. 3 times, David accompanied veterans to Washington, D.C., has visited wounded Preble County veterans at the Walter Reed Hospital, and attended a Purple Heart ceremony for one of Preble County's wounded veterans. Besides all of this, David has a farming background and has served as our commissioner for 12 years. He's a dedicated family man with a wife, Mary, 3 children, and 5 grandchildren. To summarize, our Preble County Liberty Group is a very conservative group, and we will go to any length to elect like-minded officials. The question for all of us then comes down to whether David has acted in accordance with what we ourselves would have done if we were there in his place. If so, then you know where to put your eggs. David Westford, respectively, ask for your vote on November, on May the 6th. Thank you.
And maybe.
And maybe.
Mr. Creech. Oh, you can actually stay down.
Okay, that's even better. Sounds good. I was trying to get in front of the camera.
Oh, you'll be in front of it, Rodney.
That will work.
Good evening, my name's Rodney Creech. I'll pass those around at the end. So I'll give you kind of a brief introduction and history. It takes just a few minutes, and then I'll tell you why I decided to run for Preble County Commissioner. Born and raised in Preble County, 4th-generation farmer. Not only, and I'm actually the 4th generation to live on the farm. My grandpa moved into the farm that I live in when he was 7. So my roots are very deep in the county. I have a great passion for the county, and I always have. After graduating from high school, I attended Morehead State University, where I got a bachelor's degree in agronomy and turf science. And after graduating from college, I came home, started working in town, and farming with my father. And after a couple years, I was very fortunate to start a business called Lawn Plus, which hopefully you've heard of, I hope. And we do fertilization, weed control, seeding, aeration. We call it Lawn Health Services. Just, young guy starting a business. I just wanted to be able to support my family, and now fast forwarding to 2014, we just hired our 13th employee. 12 of those are Preble County based employees, and about in 2 weeks we're getting ready to hire another one. So business is good. I have a very sound business mind. I have another business too, and everybody goes, how in the heck are you going to have time to be a county commissioner? I'm not involved actually in either business. I believe in surrounding yourself with good people. I hired a guy 3 years ago to run my lawn care business, and the business has exploded. I think I work 2 hours today, and that's not very typical. And then I have another business that I have, we sell Bex hybrids on the seed side, on the farm side, and I have a full-time manager / sales guy. We're looking at hiring another sales guy here real soon. So I believe, in developing good relationships, and if you surround yourself with good people, you'll be very successful. I've been good at that, and I want to apply that to the county. What got me into local government, going back to my grandpa, when you're a young kid, everybody wants to be like grandpa. My grandpa was a farmer, and I wanted to be a farmer, and I am, and we farm, still have the family farm today. But my grandpa was also a township trustee. And I used to go out, just township trustees, a tree blows down on the road in a storm, you go out and you clean it up. The funeral, I got to take flags off the cars and help with the burial. I love that. And so when I was able to go full-time in 2007, it just so happened that there was a term expiring, and I ran for township trustee and beat a guy who had been in the township for a long time. And love it, had a great passion for it. Right before my first term expired, I got heavily involved in the township. Anything I do, I get heavily involved in. We're a very active township, and I got pretty heavily involved in the county. And the more I got involved with the county, the more I started to shake my head. And this would have been about 3 years ago. And at that time, I thought, maybe someday. I figured I would be a township trustee my whole life, because once you're a township trustee, you got to really screw up to get kicked out. And I thought I would be a trustee my whole life, and here I am at the end of my fourth term, and I'm starting to think that that's the next level. I'm a planner. So about a year later, which was about 2 years ago, I started hearing a lot of scuttlebutt from elected officials and a lot of people within the county. I wouldn't be running for Preble County Commissioner if there wasn't a demand. There's people out here, and we got to put our ear to the rail. There's a lot of things you need to get out here and talk to people. You need to go up to the courthouse and talk to people. It's a very disgruntled courthouse. And I think there's a commissioner here that you could probably pull aside and may tell you the same thing, but I don't want to throw her under the bus.
Thank you.
But there's a lot of issues. And the reason that I'm running is I don't believe in full-time politics. I have a full-time job at home. I'm not doing this for the money. In fact, it's probably one of the worst business moves I could ever make in my life. But I want to serve my county. I have no axes to grind. I can tell you for the last 14 months, and again, someone here can tell you I've been to the meetings. I haven't missed hardly any. Every Monday and Wednesday, I'm at those meetings because I want to know what's going on. I want to know how decisions are being made, and I want to see, if I get elected, I want to be able to hit the ground running. And very few people would do that. So I think that shows my commitment to the county. I'm glad, Jack, that you guys love fiscally responsible people, because that's me. I'm very conservative. I call myself a conservative. And I guess, as far as looking at the county, the way that the decisions are made, I think you all know that we've lost $730,000 on Goose Creek. I don't call that conservative. $730,000. $480,000 that was out of the general fund. That's not conservative. I'm a business-minded person, and I plan. Anytime you have a business decision, you have to have a plan. You also have to have an exit strategy. There was nothing with Goose Creek. They walked up to the table, they put all their money on red, they rolled the dice. That's not conservative. So, call it what you will. As far as the list of accomplishments that the board has done, I'll say, there's been a lot of grants, and that's a board of 3 typically. We did just have a big decision here. It was kind of a one-man show. There's some lack of working together, I'll say, at the courthouse. We have commissioners going out and doing things for political gain, and I have a problem with that. I call it Washington-style politics. We all know what that is, trying to get a feather in their cap. So I hope people don't read into this too much, because there's been some things happening, especially here in the last couple months, that have been political points. I don't play those games. I'm in this for the county. I'm not a full-time politician. I've got a good history of business background, business-minded, and my opponent's been a full-time politician for 12 years, and that's just my beliefs. Getting back to some of the accomplishments that Jack did mention, and very proud of the county, Pratt Industries. The commissioners actually had very little involvement with Pratt Industries. That was our economic development partnership. And I'm very proud to sit on the executive board for that. And I'll tell you, I sit on the executive board for the Economic Development Partnership, and I had very little to do with Pratt Industries. There were 2 people that was very important in that process. One was Shonda Combs, and the other is Jeff Seward. And I think we've got commissioners that are taking the gain for it. They didn't do anything. So there's a lot of things and grants that, I can just tell you that most of the things, D&M Tool was a business retention project. I was involved in that. The commissioners had very little to do with that. So I just want to be careful that we're not putting our name on things that we didn't do, but we really need to be proud of the county. We have a great thing going, and I want to be an instrumental part in the future. And I'll hand these out, and I want to give you my cell phone number. If anybody ever wants to sit down and grab a sandwich or a coffee or anything, if anybody wants to write it down, it's 937-313-2690. And I'd love to sit down and talk to you. And again, I encourage you to talk to the people that work at the courthouse, talk to your sheriff's department, talk to people that are involved with the county every day, and I think you'll find out that this county's ready for change. The only thing I want to add, and this is very, very important, you will see Republican endorsed, and you may have all heard this story, but I just want to get it on video, and I want you all to know. When you see on my opponent's things that he's Republican endorsed, I do sit on the Republican Central Committee the Republican Central Committee, and at the meeting that night there was 43 people. We had 8 people missing, and I think this makes a statement. I got beat 23-20. Now, a 3-term incumbent that has done his job, he should have kicked my butt. This county's ready for a change. Even the Republicans are saying that we had 8 people missing that night. I didn't get the trophy, but I can tell you that I have more support, and I can tell you that confidently. So, people, this is the real thing. We got to put our ear to the rail. If we keep doing the same thing, we're gonna get the same results. So, new vision and new energy. That's our slogan, and I appreciate your support. So, if anybody has any questions, I'd love to.
Anybody?
How do you define conservative?
If I could ask, since David isn't here, any questions that Rodney gets, I would like to see them, David give us an answer to. Because he hasn't had to answer any questions thus far in this process.
How do you define conservatism?
As far as financially, or as far as
Either way, give me your description of conservatism.
okay. Well, I think I look at policy, and I look at principle, and that's probably when you're looking. I'll answer your question in a second, but when you look at policy, you're not going to see a lot of differences between I mean, you can, but there's not going to be a lot of differences in policy between a conservative and Republican. Where you're going to see the biggest difference with me is principle. I mean, like I said, you go up there and you talk, and if I walk in and tell somebody something and look them in the eyes, it's going to be a fact. Or if I screw up, I'm going to look at you in the eyes. I think one of the biggest problems we have right now in the courthouse, and you ask anybody, it's truth and transparency. Those are the 2 things that are missing. So conservative to me is, I was raised to tell, Alan, I've known you forever, and you know my family. I was raised to tell the truth. I'm a hard, now policy-wise, we all know what we start getting into the abortion and gay, a lot of those conservative. But I look at the policy and principle is what I stand on, because common sense, hard work, by golly, we've raised 5 years old to tell the truth. I don't know why everybody gets away from it. And I think, like I said, Denise, I've been working with Denise a lot, and I think she'll tell you, I'm pretty blunt. But I think when it gets to conservative, conservative values are just something that's raised in. I don't want to say a penny pincher, because as a businessman, you have to, the worst thing you can do is save money. You got to spend money to make money in a business, and I do view the county as a business. But I think we got to watch, spend our money wisely. Hughes Creek's a prime example. We're cutting the sheriff's department, but yet we just lost $730,000. Now, $250,000 is a grant, but we just lost $730,000. That is not conservative at all. So.
Rodney, I know that David Westford's been to a lot of our meetings here. You attended maybe one meeting. How do you look at our conservative Tea Party group here? How do you view us as a good thing for the Republican Party, or as detrimental to have this split in the Republican Party that I think we represent?
Actually, I've probably been about a half a dozen meetings, but that doesn't matter. I really, to me, I am a Republican. And like I said, I've had this conversation a lot. If you look at my literature, I'm a conservative. I'm just as mad at the Republicans sometimes as I am Democrats. So, you know what? I'm somewhere, I don't really see it. I think a lot of us have the same views. I figure Republicans are over here, Democrats are over here, and I'm somewhere in between. I don't see you as any different than me, personally. So I don't know.
Well, I think a lot of them on the Central Committee probably do view us as troublemakers, or not doing good things for the advancement of the Republican Party. And I just wonder, what is your take on that? Do you think there's a place for the Tea Party people in this county? And, are we doing the right thing, or should we just shut up and go
Well, like I said, I don't really, I mean, you're a Republican, right? Conservative Republican?
I'm a registered Republican. I'm
Yeah.
really not sure that I call myself a Republican.
Yeah, well, and I'm the same way. I mean, like I said, I'm not as happy with the Republican Party as I used to be. I'm still a Republican too. But again, it comes down to being conservative and how people view other people. I think, that's not for me to question. I mean, as far as, I'm sure there's people that think, we're all crazy. But I've never, there's, comments, I think sometimes it's, our people, I don't like drawing that line in the sand. It's our people or your people. I think we're all together. I mean, this is Preble County. I mean, Democrats, Republicans, we all got to get along. This is a small place. We got to work together. I don't like drawing that line in the sand and saying I'm a Tea Party or I'm a Democrat or Republican. We all got to work together.
I don't see us as working together, in a lot of things that we do as a group.
Well, and that's why we need change. I agree. I agree 100%.
Well, I'm not sure that I agree with it.
I'm just giving you the answer.
Because I don't think we ought to just go along to get along in order to have a stronger party and have one big tent and let everybody underneath of it. I think we
I
need
didn't
to
say that.
return to our, well,
Yeah. Yeah, there's a
I think we ought
lot
to
of,
work together. Well,
Yeah.
we should, but when they are one opposite view and we are another, as
Yeah.
far as, how far we take this, then,
again, it comes down to truth and transparency. If everybody can get along and common sense, truth, and transparency, I don't think we should all get along. That's not our job, especially even as the commissioners. I mean, you don't get into this to make friends. You get in to make tough decisions. And, one of them showing up to tough meetings or showing up to meetings and making tough decisions. And I'm telling you, you go up there, you'll find out.
and we do have a big split in the Republican Party. I think you admit that.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I think
Who's
that.
right?
I'm sorry.
Who's right?
Who's-
You should sit down and compare notes.
Well, my issue with the Republican Party in general has been that I think the Tea Party follows the Republican platform more closely than the Republican Party themselves do. One thing that bothers me is that the Ohio Republican Party, RNC, did not adopt the national platform. And I would like to ask the state level people, why not? And has our Republican Party adopted the national RNC platform? Because I think we should. I think that our values are that platform, and it's the Republican platform, so.
Well, and it comes back to politics. And we, Preble County's too small. I'll tell you, this is, and I hate to even admit this, but 2 years ago, and I've lived here my whole life, I never dreamed how much politics was in this county. And I'm telling you, I feel like I feel naive. And I've gotten my eyes open so much in the last 16 months or whatever going to these meetings. I've been going since January 1st of last year. I've gotten my eyes opened up, and it's not, even within the party. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it. I mean, there's so much politics involved. I've gotten my eyes opened up, and we got to get it out of here. And I think that's what we're all here for. We're here for good, common people, good representation for the county. And, we got these guys up here doing stuff just for personal gain. It's I did this. I went out and got this money for the county. There's no I in Preble County. It's us. It's a team. 2 other commissioners didn't even know about the money that was received from the fairgrounds. Didn't even know about it. We had a commissioner working on this for months because he knew he had a tough battle coming up May 6th. It's personal gain, it's full-time politics, it's Washington politics. And I wish he was here tonight so I could, I'm not saying anything I wouldn't say to his face. That's what we're dealing with. So that's why I'm running.
I'm new to this county, and the commissioners are. How does it break down as far as their politics, Democrat and Republican? How many Democrats, how many Republicans?
We are all Republicans.
It's probably easiest to say we've had probably 1 Democrat in the last, how many years?
100?
15? 20?
But I mean, most of the people that serve, they're in it for themselves. I mean,
Yeah.
they don't take care of the old people, they don't take care of the veterans, they don't take care of the kids. I mean, when you send money off overseas to Muslim Brotherhood or something like that, when the money needs to be kept in this country,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a veteran. disabled veteran, last one to get drafted in the Marine Corps back in 1970. And this country makes me sick.
I know.
I can promise you that the county hasn't sent any money
Yeah.
to us. As a commissioner, I promise.
Well, I mean, it's just.
But you're right, he's wrong.
It's
We
retarded.
shouldn't send money to people who hate us.
Yes.
I agree.
They should be taken care of. There shouldn't, no kid should, with the natural resources we have in this country, no kid should have to pay for college. The Arabs, Saudi Arabia, they got a free college, free school. They don't pay for nothing. I mean, we have the resources to take care of our own people.
Yeah.
And then, to hell with everybody else.
Just like the government to
Well,
leave us alone so we can
as
take care
long
of
as it's
ourselves. They won't.
voluntary, I'm okay with that.
I'd be more for that.
You mentioned in your intro that there's a lot of issues in the county that concern you. Can you give me maybe your top 2 concerns, what you'd like to address as a commissioner?
Well, I think
Phil,
the landfill's a hot topic. I think it comes down to, again, there's issues in Preble County, and I think, and then there's issues in Preble County. I think the easy issues is being easy to talk to, having people that trust you. I mean, when you have elected officials that don't trust your leaders, I mean, we're all here, we got leaders we don't trust up in the White House, we got leaders we don't trust at the state level. You can't work with people you don't trust. And I'm telling you straight up, just please go up to the courthouse and talk to the elected officials.
we're
And
still
talk
talking
to,
about landfill and distrust.
yeah. Well,
I
and
want to know what,
and so,
specifically 2 issues that concern you
so,
that you would like.
yeah, so I guess what I'm looking at is the easy stuff. I'm a people person. I love people, I'm a problem solver. So, dealing with people every day, I mean, the other thing is, I think it's a full-time job,
Be specific, we want one of the issues you're thinking of.
I know, I'm getting there,
All right.
because it is, there's so much I want, but I guess what I'm saying is, a commissioner needs to be available, at all times. And one of the biggest complaints I hear up there is, commissioners are never here, they're here 2.5 days a week. Well, that's not good, that's not, everybody else is putting in their 40, 50 hours, and, now I know there's stuff to do outside of the courthouse, trust me, I know that. But no, so I think one of the major issues is getting along, building rapport, having, it's okay to, I don't even want to use the word friendships, I just think relationships. You got to be able to trust and have that, you're going to get a lot more done. But as far as the issues, I mean, we got the landfill issue, which is huge. I mean, 2/3 of the landfill budget is from assessments. We got a $3.2 million budget, 1.9 million that's coming from us. So we're running an operation that's so inefficient. If it was the real world, it would fail. Probably one of the biggest issues that I see, and Job and Family is huge, but is our sheriff's department. Our sheriff's department, we've lost, well, I don't have the final number, but at one time it was 25 positions. A couple of those have been refilled. The sheriff's getting me that information. But we've lost well over 20 positions. With the drugs and theft that's going on in this county, from 2003 to 2013, we've lost 25 people. And this is unsafe. I mean, we're getting by bare bones.
Is it because of money?
I'm sorry.
Is it because of money?
Well,
That the
what,
positions were lost?
yes, what happened back in 2009 when they had the budget cuts? They did a lot of trimming across the board.
So how are you gonna get the money back to get more?
Well, I think it's going to come down to managing the budget. I mean, right now, let's just say, for instance, if we wanted to add, we've got 2 full-time troopers or 2 full-time deputies per shift. If we could add 1 to 2 more people, it's huge. We don't want 25 back. We can't afford that. But if we could, a deputy is going to cost about $60,000. That's a lot of money. But you got, again, it's kind of coming back to doing it, and trust me, I've met with the sheriff on this a lot. We need to be a little bit more proactive instead of reactive. It can cost you just as much or more not having enough personnel. You're running an inefficient business.
Why did they have a guy that retired and then he turned around and hired him back?
Which one's that?
Joe Renner.
Okay.
He retired and then the sheriff turned around and hired him back.
Yeah. And there's quite a bit of retiree hire, I think, in the school systems, in the courthouses, and whatever. I mean, and there's an argument out there that it saves the taxpayer money. You don't have the you know, you got
That wasn't any savings at all. I mean, he's
Well, you
getting
would
his
have the-
retirement money, but he's still paying him. In fact, he may be making more now than before he retired.
I still think there's some savings and some benefits. I hear that argument a lot. I mean, we got quite a few retiree hires. But at the end of the day, we've lost 25 people since 2003. And I'm not saying, some of those cuts had to be made. I mean, we were in some serious, I mean, you know, when you look at the spending, the reason we was in that, I mean, the fellow that I was running against had been in there 8 years and we was going red, real red. And then we got 2 new commissioners in there and they made a lot of cuts. I mean, we were in a serious financial crisis, and at the end of, in the middle of my opponent's second term. So again, it comes down to money management. It comes down to business management. I mean, and when you look at the history of county commissioners, it's, you know, there's very little business background. This is a $10.5 million business. The county's a $10.5 million business, and like I said, when you look at I'm 37 years old. I got two very successful businesses. You know, to me, it's you know, making good sound decisions. You know, and to me, it's not that complicated. But I mean, you got to have the experience, and you can be in an office for 20 years and still not be a good businessman. It's not business. It's not something you learn in office.
Well, Rodney,
Yeah.
money doesn't grow on trees. Do you have a couple ideas of where you could find this money?
Well, I think a lot of it's just going to be massaging the budget. I mean, we got 2.6 million, and trust me, I like having that rainy day fund or that reserve. But, you know, if you look at we got 2.6 million. Well, let me put it this way to you, Jack. Our budget today is less than it was in 2003. One of the big things is you got fuel costs. Wages have increased. They're union wages. New vehicles have gone way up. So our expenses are going way up. And we still have a smaller budget. I mean, I mean, it's skin and bones. So yeah, I mean, I went through the budget process, but $60,000, and trust me, I don't like spending money. I think it's money well spent.
But you still haven't told them where it come from.
Well, that's why I'm meeting with the sheriff. I've probably met with the sheriff probably about 6 or 7 times, and you know, it doesn't have to just come from the sheriff. We got general fund. You know where it could have came from? It could have come from Goose Creek money. $480,000 out of the general fund. That'd been a great place to pull $60,000 out of.
Yeah,
What
but
about the last set of commissioners we had? They tried to put a $20 tax on our license plates. Where would you stand on that?
Well, Jeff knows where I stand. As a township trustee, and I can tell you it's
Do you have it in your township?
Yeah, yeah, it's called permissive tax. The permissive tax, now this is where it gets a little tricky, and Jeff and I have some,
major disagreement.
not major, because sometimes you
Well-
say you agree with me.
Yeah,
see my
sometimes,
side.
and I tell Dave, sometimes I agree with, here's the problem, Rodney, on this.
Well, hold on, let me answer the
No,
question.
because this will answer his question. If you're collecting it in Twin Township, and there's other townships that are not out there collecting it, and you're advocating for the county to go out there and levy that tax, as you did 2 years ago when a lot of these people showed up, those other townships may be able to get by without that tax. They may not need that money. They don't need the county coming in and taking that money, that they will not be able to go back and say, hey, you know, 10 years from now, or 5 years from now, we could use that money, but the county is already collecting, because this is a first come, first served tax. So for you,
Right.
as a Twin Township trustee that is already collecting this tax, to say, these ones that aren't collecting it, let's have the county take it, I don't see that as right. It should be the local things, the county should stay out of it, especially if you're already collecting it in your township. It's not, Israel has a bed tax, Jefferson has a bed, they may not need that money, they may need it 5 years from now, but when you go out and advocate for the county to take that tax, it takes it off, takes the opportunity away from them in the future. And that, you know, people have watched that, brought that issue up to me. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Well, and I'll tell you, when we're looking at economic development, okay, we have to have good roads. And I don't know if you follow, being a township trustee, I can tell you, 10, 15 years ago, you could pave a mile for about 60,000, okay? Today, it's 120,000 miles. So the cost of, you know, tar and asphalt is a byproduct or a product of petroleum. Well, we all know what's happened. So when you look at infrastructure, roads are huge. I mean, we have the permissive tax in our township. It saves us because we got 44 miles of road, and we have about $120,000 to maintain 44-mile road. That permissive tax saves us. Why am I for it? Here's why I'm for it. is a use tax. Now, I've got about 16 trucks and 4 trailers. I got 20 vehicles, okay, that I'd be paying on permissive tax. If anybody should be against it, it should be me, because I'm gonna be paying more than anybody. But guess what I call that? A use tax. If I'm using the roads more than you are, I should have to pay more. I mean, it's you know, 15, 20 bucks, depending on, you know, how much, $15 to $20 per
Well,
license
how did they
plate.
do it 20 years ago, before you had that? How did the township pay for that?
20 years ago, we were probably paying 40,000 a mile. And here's what it is, okay? Here's a township or county budget, it's right here, okay? Here's our input, here's what our costs have done over time. So let's just say we used to be able to do chip and seal 10 mile a year, now we can only do 3. Because our money doesn't go as far. Does that make sense? I mean,
No, it doesn't.
Costs far exceed.
our costs are going up,
Yeah, but
our
here's-
income's going up, and
Here's the whole thing, okay? Back in 1964, when I went to work, okay, or 65, the first year I worked the full year, I kept track of my taxes of what I paid, everything I paid out. And I paid out about 23% of everything I earned, okay? Last year when I retired, last full year, which was 94, okay, I was paying 55% of everything I earned in taxes, okay? So, here's why nobody can explain to me. How's come that though I was only paying, everybody in this country is only paying 23%, we go to 55, and now we don't have any money to fix anything
I know.
anymore.
I know.
Their expenses couldn't have gone up that much.
Well, no, we're talking local. We're talking local.
It does,
Yeah.
taxes are taxes. It doesn't matter whether it's local or not.
Well,
I took-
I can tell you, we got a lot less money coming in than we used to, especially, you know, local government funds, which we don't totally rely on. But I think if you're sitting here, it costs a lot more to run your household today than it did 20 years ago.
Apparently not.
Fuel's
'cause-
going up, everything.
Apparently not, because I could live on what I was making back, I had, 76% to live on, okay, and I'm living on less than that now, so apparently,
Well, like I said, it
I was
goes-
able to handle it. What's wrong with all these government entities running out of money all the time?
Oh, trust me. Yeah, and it comes back to most of them are spending.
Well, we're all broke.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
all broke. We can't go any deeper.
Okay.
Tax forward.
Evan, you have a question? This kind of have to be the last one. We got a few more people we want to hear from on other issues. And then if you want to talk to Rodney afterwards, or you want to drag him over to McDonald's for coffee or whatever,
That's right.
he'll be there. Go ahead, Evan.
I just want to say that I will pass these questions on to David Wessler, and he will respond by email to you, and you can send it out in the website email.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks, Rod.
Evan, did you have a question or no?
Well, the subject that you were just on as far as license plate tax, normally a license plate tax is levied as, say, for your license plate, you'll pay $34, right? And we're going to have a local option tax on that, it's another $20. What that doesn't do is take in account for inflation. That's why your costs are going up on one side and your inflow is remaining constant, because you have X number of cars in a county, let's assume that, and you're charging a fixed price on it. If taxes are levied as a percentage of something, right? You'll see them go up. A good example is the gas tax. I'm sure the politicians in Washington and the state level are kicking themselves in the behind years ago when they said, okay, the federal tax on a gallon of gasoline is 18.4 cents. Because at the time, a gallon of gasoline didn't cost that much.
Yeah.
But now, that tax doesn't reflect as much as a percentage of the per unit cost that the individual spends. They would have been better off to say, okay, if the gasoline tax, federal sales tax on gasoline is X percent as opposed to a fixed base. And that's the same principle that applies to a license plate tax or.
Right.
Don't give them any ideas,
Well, that's why you have that disparity.
It was a good explanation.
They didn't want to call this a tax, though, they wanted to call it a fee.
Yeah.
It's called a fee. Yeah, it's not a tax, it's a fee.
Thank you, Rodney.
Thank you.
Stick around afterward if
Sure.
anybody wants to. Okay.